Somebody who has an A but can't speak English. Does that person have an A? Of course he has, it was through something else. That has changed. Why do you want to take us back there? And we are also hoping that this heavy security of examinations will fizzle out as soon as the CBC takes root, because there will really be no premium. CBC is not examination oriented. It is learner oriented, and they are assessed as we move along. So you should not worry about that. And let me tell you, our government has a face. The face of the government is His Excellency the President, and we are his agents together with everybody else here. Even on the day of the examinations, if we find that there is an anomaly, it shall be corrected. What is your problem? There is no child that will be denied access to examinations. Even those who are arrested and are at a police station, don't we take exams to them? Why don't we say, no, this one is awaiting to be taken to court, watch and go mpaka next year? So it is the child's right that is most important. Are we together here? Yes. Asanteni sana. Uh-huh.
You've done one class. Are you going to build more classes in every school?
Let me repeat to you, first of all, that in Kenya today, again, in the wisdom of His Excellency the President, he placed all schools on GIS. I hope you understand that. So we now know the exact gap. Even this school is on GIS. So we don't rely on what the principal is telling us. We just go to our GIS and we shall see even the classrooms they are constructing. In that schedule, we have identified schools that have a lot of surplus. They have a lot of surplus space where we don't even need to build CBC classrooms there. And if you listen carefully, you will find the politicians saying, no, why are they adding classrooms here and they are leaving mine? Even here in Machakos. That's one. Number two, we also have classrooms that are adequate but not for CBC. And then we also have schools that have deficits. So you will see us continuing to build classrooms based on the needs. If I wanted to check the exact deficit from here, I would call my database. But what I can tell you is that this is the first phase, and therefore, if there were a requirement of 3 classrooms here, then we have done 1. And most likely we shall do 2 in April. This was because of the financial dynamics. The budgeting process is going on, and money will be released through the supplementary, which is actually going on today. And we don't expect that there should be a problem. So, but you know, if I was to ask the teachers themselves, we are Kenyans and we are Africans. And you will listen, if you open your ears, you listen and people are saying, why are they not building in this one? It is because we know what the gap there. Are you satisfied, Ndugu? Asanteni sana. We are basically verifying. Remember, we are putting up 6,400 classrooms, which marks the first phase of the order by His Excellency the President that we construct classrooms for CBC in preparation for January next year. Let it be remembered that the current grade 5 students are going to move into grade 6 in May of this year, and that is the pioneer class. Come January next year, by the grace of God, we shall have normalized, and therefore that grade 6 will transit into the junior secondary school. And those are the classrooms that we are building now. We intend to be done by them before the expiry of this government, which by the grace of God will either be in September, October, November, or December, depending on what happens. But we don't want all that transition politics to affect our children. I am very grateful to announce to the nation at this point that we have completed over 700 classrooms which means we have completed over 10%. In terms of the classrooms that have not started, they are less than 100. Close to 2,000 classrooms are at roofing level. The rest are at walling level. And therefore, this is a target that we shall meet and beat. We had originally said we shall complete by April. We brought it down to March, and then now I became bolder after I opened the first one on the 13th of last month and said we must complete before the exam starts. And you know the exams start in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. By that time, this will have been completed. This is a very good idea. I don't want to be cautious because God is always ahead of me, so I will just be bold as usual. When God gives you a position of leadership, I think the least you should be thinking about is money. The most important thing to think about is impact. And here, we are just doing what we have to do at this time. What will happen after, God will take care of it. And in that task force report, we pronounced very strongly and openly that CBC shall be domiciled in secondary school. That's why I'm here. Oh, what is this classroom doing here? But in fairness to you as a journalist, we also said we have about 1,500 primary schools. 1,500. We have now put all the schools on GIS, all of them. And we have seen that we have 1,500 schools that have such excess capacity that it will be wise for the government to select those ones and make that 1,500 to host, to become junior secondary schools. But otherwise, the rest will be in high schools. What is so difficult to hear from there? You know, people, if you think, and I'm sure you can think, you will know why they want it to remain where they want it. And I will not tell you because you are intelligent enough to know why. Yes? Sure, this is more than the up-10th time that I'm saying this in public. But let me be very slow in simple English. We made a decision after wide consultation that we shall consolidate the small schools and make sure that the smallest number will be 30 learners in one place. This was informed by one fact, that the security of the examination was being compromised. We had spread thin, in particular, even here in Machakos, we had spread so thin that we did not have enough security men to look after the exams. And on the other side of the coin, you find one-story building with 3 schools. And each classroom, each of the examination class has 15 or 16 children. That change was aimed at curing that. But we also said very clearly, if schools are spread to something like 5 kilometers or so, we are going to deal with them individually. I've said that many times. So for example, in the arid areas of this country, we have reassured them that we are not going to allow our children to walk to school the way we did for 5 kilometers or more than 3 kilometers and so on. By doing that, we have reduced the exam centers by almost 643 of them. That will ensure that our security agents, together with the teachers, are better used. On one side, you are saying we are ready, bring the exams to be printed here. If the exams were printed here now, do you want us to go back to 6 years ago? No. Because you can tell. They are not. So ladies and gentlemen, can we just support our children? Because children remember what they see and hear. When they see the old people are saying so many things, it is going to confuse them. But there's one thing I want to tell you. Nobody is going to dare, it doesn't matter who he is, to take our children back. You can back out there, but you're not going to take a grade 6 child back to standard 1 to start preparing for KCPE. The country is not going, the mothers are not going to allow you. Who do you think you are? Tell me. Because these children have gone through 6 years, actually 7 years of CBC from, actually even 8 years, because they start from PP1. So how do you think you are going to take them back to a new, that you can now start and go and do another exam in a year? Which mother will allow you? So before we open our mouths to say things which don't make any sense, think about it first. I think that's all I'm willing to talk about today, unless you have a question that is pertaining to, yes? On political issues. Please excuse me. Look at me very well. Do I belong to any political party to you? Do I serve any political party's interests? I serve His Excellency the President as the national leader of this country. And to me, all children are the same. Whether this one belongs to this party you have mentioned, whether it belongs to another party, at this time, I am serving the president because he's the commander-in-chief of the country, isn't it? I wasn't brought here because I belong to a particular party. When his term ends, by the grace of God, I shall end it with him. What happens after that, should that be my business? No. That's God's business. Or do you want to give me his wisdom to answer you? All I can tell you is that our people, do you have, I love my children and grandchildren. What about you? Will you allow anybody to mess with them? No. That's your answer. First of all, let me just say that the examination is ready and it is all systems go. Some of the materials are already available. The security is even higher than before. Those who are so keen on printing the examination papers here should be honest with themselves. At this time, our integrity status as a nation is still wanting. And even our political leaders should know that. So they should stop making too much noise. I'm just doing what I have to do. Yes. But the government is curing this through the competency-based curriculum. And the way it is doing it, for example, those children that are going to grade 6 next year, by that time, 60% of their assessment would already be in the system. So their final exam, or if you would like to call it that, will only be responsible for 40%. And nobody would be so keen to steal, because by that time we shall have already known how the children have been doing. Secondly, most of these children who are doing CBC will already have known what they want, because now we are starting to teach them how the heart is beating in primary school. So those who don't like anything to do with the heart will run away from it. Those who want to be journalists will already be communicating even in primary school. So why do you want to steal an exam? It is not exam oriented. For those who are talking about participation, please give us a break and leave politics out of this. For the mothers who are here, whose children are in CBC, please talk about it and loud enough. If God gave you more than one child, if one is in the old system and one is in the new system, what is the difference? You will find that the one that is in the new system is more eager to help you to work in the house. That is how we were trained before. We used to have a common entrance exam at that time. And even before then, they had to make sure we could read, actual reading one-on-one before you go to the next class. And so many other things. I was taught how to plant in a garden in a school during that time. So what the president is doing is just taking us back 50, 60 years back, so that we are able to be all round the way we are. Now, if the Kenyan population says no, now that is their business. But I don't think they are saying so.